Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today's video is going to be about one of my favorite comps in the game, and one that I've played and I could maybe even say perfected for a long time, and that is Worm Wasp. Now, I haven't played with it too much in the most recent seasons and patches because I feel like it's a tough comp to make work, and you need to give up quite a lot for it on your wasps to really like fully commit to that hyper carry wasp setup. But as of late, I've tried to come back to it a little bit, revisiting the different techs I want to run, which is a whole like thing in and of itself. I mean, we'll get into it in this game. And yeah, also kind of thinking about the big patch that's coming with the buildings, which are set to be coming out today. I thought, we might see some more standard. We might see some more like Vulcan marksman. And I think that Worm Wasp is potentially a good counter to that. So, I might end up playing it a little bit more. Now, I'm playing up against Habsburg here, who is a very strong 201 player. He's been doing exceptionally well in the Mag 1 tournaments last season and the current season that's running. So, yeah, scary opponent, very high MMR, 2300 MMR plus is what we're looking at. And he's a training specialist with hounds. Yes, there we go. One of them leveled and steel balls. Going to add 2 crawlers and looks like he's going to heavily try and push in to my left side tower. Pretty clumped up position, I would say. It's not the most common to do something like this, but heavy pressure is what you're going to get out of it. And then I'm a quick supply specialist starting with steel balls and fangs. Not the most common opener. A lot of people find this very awkward. It is a little bit awkward for sure. I mean, fangs and steel balls, one is fast, the other is slow. Typically, you'd love to have crawlers paired with your steel balls, and that's what I'm going to go for. Now, initially, I was trying to do something completely different. Perhaps you could say try a different meme comp, which is carry fang. And I could have gone for like ranged fangs here on round 1, but it wasn't really something that I was looking to try, really. Seeing the hounds made me a bit scared, having to play into steel balls and hounds, and on top of that, being in a crossfire like this, I really didn't feel like I would be able to pull off a fang carry. The fangs are pretty slow, and yeah, into this like stack of units, it would take way too long for the fangs to get anything done, really. So I kind of immediately abandoned that idea, and then I was thinking to myself, I don't really know what I want to do here. I mean, Wraith looks really good to me. Opponent has a lot of clumped up units, and Wraith is fantastic against things like crawlers and hounds, and with levels can become good into low level steel balls as well. So that was where my mind was going. But round number 2, and we get the card that really enables carry Wasp. Improved Wasp, there it is. Card used to be stronger in the past. You would actually get 20 range, but they nerfed it back to 10. The stats you gain are still massive. 60% attack, 60% hit points. The Wasps do get very expensive. But I'd be able to use my quick supply money here to get 2 of them on round 2. Now, I have to sell a steel ball for it, but I'm okay with that. And yeah, I'm going to go double Wasp here, hopefully farming a little bit of experience and managing to get some early levels. Now, when I go carry Wasp, at least what I like to do with my build is heavily invest into Wasp. It's like the most important thing, obviously, but you really need to greed a ton to get them the levels they need, to have the money to get them the techs that they require, because with this setup, your Wasps are going to be the key to just about everything. You're going to need range, obviously. It's a low range unit, so you need to get it, out of harm's way as much as possible. And then the rest of the tech bar kind of allows you to deal with any threat you might face. High explosive is nice because it allows you to chaff clear with your wasps. And when you are improved wasp, you don't even lose that much, right? You only lose 30% attack, but you also gain 60%. Which one of them is going to be additive, the bonus, and then you kind of multiply that by the minus 30%. So it's not ideal, but it kind of offsets your loss for a gain of splash, which is very valuable. And then on top of that, you've got other techs to help out too. But what it allows you to do is not have to buy a chaff clear unit, which is the tough part when it comes to carry WASP, in my opinion. Very hard to pair this with a good, solid chaff clear unit without leaving yourself exposed to techs like anti-air Mustang, for instance. Range is still a big problem, and that's why typically I want to play it with Sandstorm, Sandworm. You know, the Sandstorm will reduce the range on any of my opponent's ground units by 50%, which makes the WASP matchup a lot easier. But at the same time, it would also affect your own ground units. So you can't really play ground-based chaff clear units with Sandstorm. And that kind of leaves Wraith. But the problem with Wraith is that you can't range it, or else it will stay behind your WASP. On top of being, you know, another investment to make with levels and techs of its own. It's a pain, really. So I tried to abandon the whole Worm Wraith Wasp idea and make it as simple as possible Worm Wasp. That's why we run High Explosive. In the meantime, we're doing pretty well here in the early rounds. You managed to pick up a level on one of the Wasps. That's fantastic. And here, there's not really anything in here that I like. The good thing is there are no Mustangs in that drop, and there are no Fortresses either. Those would be kind of the very scary things for my opponent to get. Fortress AA very early on can be a massive pain, especially just because of how tanky the Fortress is. So not only does it kind of like slowly kill your units in the back line, it's also just very hard to take down the Fortress itself without teching. And that's where the rest of the tech bar comes in. Ground specialization is specifically there to try and kill big units. Things like Fortresses, when you don't have the levels yet. I know Elite Specialist theoretically is better long-term, but it's dependent on getting levels, and sometimes you will simply not be able to get levels if you can't kill your opponent's units. And Ground Spec kind of removes that requirement of needing a certain amount of levels to get damage. You just click it, and you gain 200% damage against ground-based targets, which are the scariest. And off of that, you should be able to kill them, gain some experience, get the levels that you need. So we're already up to range here, which is always going to be the first tech that you want on your Wasps. And you can already see that that's doing a great job. Opponent went for Arc Lights. I don't care about those. And he did buy a Mustang, a blue one at that, with the intensive training. Now, it doesn't have range yet, so it lost, even though there are two on the board. And, I mean, this is where improved Wasp really can fight into Mustang quite easily. I'm not that scared about Mustang by themselves. I'm really mostly scared about Fortresses, and I haven't seen them yet, so I'm pretty hopeful about our setup. We only need a couple of rounds here to start scaling, and, you know, we're going to be in a very, very good spot. I get the levels wherever I can. Second tech, always going to be high explosive ammo, almost always, unless your opponent doesn't play chaff. But this makes it so much easier to get through all of the small units, not just the crawlers, but the hounds and the Mustangs as well. It just makes the matchup so much better. And yeah, that's going to be our second pickup here. Now, I'm going to pick up more levels, and I'm happy to simply pick up chaff on this round to try and protect my Wasps from getting missiled. I'll pick up the Steel Ball level 2 because I want to have some front line, if I can. What I'm working towards, ideally, is Worm, obviously. I mentioned it before. But I was thinking I could maybe try and play Armored Steel Balls as well. But, you know, the next couple rounds, if I can afford to do so, I would like to get a couple more Wasps on the board. You know, maybe bring the total number up to about 5. Start farming those levels. And, you know, play for that second unit drop to get the giant or the tank that we need. I typically like waiting for that unit drop, because if you commit to a unit yourself before the unit drop, it gives your opponent a problem to solve. And that's very scary if you head into a unit drop round, because one, you will have removed whatever unit you just purchased from showing up in the unit drop round, and you will make it more likely that there will be something that your opponent might be able to use against you, right? Because they're no longer guessing what you're going to do. They have just seen that you've committed into a certain unit, and so it's much more easy for them to pick from the units that are being offered. Anyway, round number 5 here, and we're doing quite good. We've got a bunch of pretty decent cards, I'd say. Advanced Power System is nice for aggro, but I don't think it's the most useful necessary for this type of WASP comp. I am thinking about Subsidized Steel Ball, but I didn't really want to commit too hard into it. I didn't see myself like spamming Steel Balls like crazy, and I kind of wanted to get armor if I did buy more Steel Balls, but you know, that's expensive. It would put us down to 650 resources. You know, maybe I could buy level 1 Steel Balls, but I'd really rather have them be level 2. It's a bit of an ordeal. So I decided to skip, which allows me to go for Crawler Double Blue Wasp. And I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about, right? I want to get that set up with my 5 Wasps. 2 of them going to be in the middle, a little bit further up, because they don't have to protect the flanks. 2 of them are going to be on the sides, on the tower height, so they can protect the flanks if need be. Then I'm going to put 1 Wasp here slightly further back. That's to defend the middle, if there were to be a unit drop at some point that could show up there. Now, let's see how we do. Keep in mind, I haven't picked up the attack enhancements yet, but they're all additive. So at this point, you know, with improved Wasp already giving 60 and 60, potentially clicking ground specialization in the future, it's, you know, somewhat of diminished returns. So it's not the most important thing to grab. Opponent already has managed to get range and AA on his Mustang, so he's doing pretty well on that front. And you can see that the level 4s especially are doing a whole lot of heavy lifting. We're doing alright here. The debuff is fine, but it seems like the counter debuff is going to be even better for my opponent, and he will be able to chew through all of my Wasps, so it will be a round loss, but again, it's about judging in how much trouble I am, and at the moment, I feel like I am doing just fine. We haven't lost a lot of hit points yet. I'm setting up comfortably. I'm getting levels on my Wasps. I managed to click the main techs I want. Now it's just a waiting game. And ideally, I really would have liked there to be a unit drop on round number 6. Because I felt like I've waited for long enough. And now it gets a little bit dicey. But it's gonna show up on round 7 here. We didn't get one on round 5 or 6, so we know it's showing up next round. And the question is, do we want to wait for it? There's a photon coating. Pretty nice item here. The other ones I don't necessarily need. I could go intensive training if I want to, but I feel like I've already gotten most of the levels I need. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, like what can I do here? I do not want to go Worm, because it might show up in the next unit drop, or like I explained, if I go Worm now, Worm can't show up in the unit drop that is guaranteed on round 7, and my opponent will now be looking for an answer to Worm, which could very well show up. Something like a Fortress, for instance. So I'd rather wait and increase the odds of seeing a Fortress, or even better, make sure that my opponent isn't expecting Sandworm necessarily and doesn't set up for it already. So instead, what we're going to do here is pick up the photon coating, buy 2 blue steel balls, and give them the armor enhancement tech. So this is going to be very effective against something like these enemy Mustangs. And hopefully it'll draw out a response that doesn't necessarily deal too well with the Sandworms. Right? That is still the long-term plan. But I'm doing a bit of an intermediary round here, where I do create some very solid front line for my Wasps, but I'm not showing my hand yet, and I'm kind of waiting out that unit drop that is going to be showing up. And look at how well we're doing here. I mean, the Wasps are absolutely crushing it right now. The steel balls, I mean, they're doing even better than I was hoping they would. And it's a super convincing round heading into the unit drop round, which is, I mean, the best spot that you could possibly be in, right? And this is the unit drop round. Now, not exactly what I expected. A whole bunch of random stuff that I guess doesn't really favor either of us. So I'm mostly looking for money here. There's Sabers, there's Badgers, there's Vulcan. The Badgers are worth the most in sell value. You can sell for 650. The Saber and the Vulcan can sell for 600 in one go. But I thought to myself, well, I haven't used oil yet, and I can just go for the most expensive unit drop or the most expensive, I guess, cell, highest value cell, the badgers, and sell one of them and use the other to set this on fire. Hopefully, we can catch him off guard and burn a bunch of his Mustangs and buy yet even more time, because considering I just won so convincingly, I'm happy to wait things out and kind of see what he wants to go for. And so he decides to go for the steel ball route. Picks up the Vulcan and just sells it for the money. And he opts to go triple blue steel ball with absorption and range enhancement as his techs. So just going into the steel ball mirror here, having the range advantage and the healing advantage, hopefully for him, allowing him to kind of get rid of my front line more efficiently and then connect with my WASP. Now we got a whole bunch of levels. We got 5 levels on every single one of our WASPs. We do have the money here for attack enhancements. Of course, we have that oil play. You can see that I have been buying a whole bunch of crawlers whenever I can, which is a super important thing to do in general, especially for aggro. It's one of the best things that you can do, and it often will decide the game, whether you have plenty of chaff and the option to go for loose formation or subterranean blitz. But yeah, you can see the steel balls are locking on, but at the same time, my wasps are really, really scary, and they're not too bad at taking out those steel balls. Managed to hit a decent amount of fire, about half of a sticky oil bomb. Has burnt a lot of his wasps, or a lot of his Mustangs, sorry. That means that our wasps will be able to pick up yet another round. And as they do that, they're going to keep taking most of the experience, and they're going to keep leveling. Now, round number 8, there is a wasp swarm available there, which will be spawning improved wasps with all the techs that I have, by the way. So it's a massively stronger wasp drop because of that. And so I'm happy to pick it up for only 100 investment and kind of throw it at the back. And my idea was, hopefully I can pull away his units kind of towards the sides and make this wasp go to this tower. That would be ideal. If I can grab a debuff, we're going to be close to winning here. Now, initially I wanted to sell this Fire Badger, but it was doing so well and it was in such a good spot here to deal with chaff, I was kind of happy to leave it. We also grab a third tech on Wasp with the ground specialization. Again, that's going to boost our damage by 200% against ground targets, so it should help us kill the steel balls even quicker. And it sets us up for success no matter what's going to show up at this point, right? If it's an even beefier unit, like a giant or even a titan, our wasps should be able to get rid of it very, very quickly. Like, the DPS is through the roof at this point, and it doesn't even matter that we nerfed ourselves with high explosive ammo. We've offset it very, very convincingly with the amount of stat buffs that we're gaining. I have so much money even. I go for double attack and double defense enhancement on this turn as well, just spending 600 on that. Our comp at this point is literally just Wasp and Frontline and Chaff. We haven't invested that much into the steel balls, but I mean, the Wasps are just so crazy here with this tech bar setup. It's basically the only thing that this tech bar setup can do. I have to kind of give up on the shield to be able to run all of these battle techs. But, oh, it is so satisfying when it works. And look at that round. I mean, that's even almost enough to kill as our opponent goes down to 105. Not really able to find the correct answer there. Now, round number 9, we get more unit reinforcements. And I do see the sandworms, which seem to be the best for me. I'm mainly thinking about what my opponent is going to pick here. And I feel like Rhino, Tarantula, Sandworm make no sense, as they will die far too quick to steel balls and my ground spec Wasp especially. So he's basically left with only one option, which is to try and go Wraith. I haven't clicked aerial specialization yet, so maybe if he goes range and 8-gun, something like that, he could potentially kind of kill my Wasps. And with that in mind, I think to myself, well, why not just click aerial specialization preemptively? It's the only way that I could see myself losing a round here. I mean, if we looked at how these previous rounds have been going, it's been super convincing. So really the only way that he wins is if he goes into some type of air unit. And yeah, I mean, we just preemptively click the 4th tech for full tech Wasp. It does cost a lot, We're only able to add one more sandworm, and we do click that sandstorm. Gonna try and move in here, try and grab some steel balls along the way, aim at that level 2 tower. And opponent has just been adding more steel balls. I don't care, by the way, that the sandworms die here. I just need them to apply that sandstorm so that the Mustangs move forward and get in range of the wasps. Also, it, of course, protects my wasps to a certain extent. Look at how tanky they are and when they're improved. These Mustangs are trying to shoot at them, but they're taking forever to kill them. Right side doing well. We still have a worm left alive. It now emerges from the ground in the middle of all of his high-level Mustangs. It even starts chomping away at them. No steel balls left, which means it's much, much harder for him to kill this sandworm. And keep in mind, we have double defense enhancement, so it is awfully tanky at 70,000 hit points, even at level 1. And, I mean, that'll be all she wrote. 9 rounds is all it takes with a very convincing Worm-Wasp game. Was happy with this one. I think that, I mean, I've played this comp a ton. I have played it so much when it came out, and yeah, I've recently been kind of going back over my tech bar. High explosive, I think, has got to be on the bar. Range is a no-brainer. Aerial specialization, I think, is kind of required, because otherwise you leave yourself vulnerable to a counter Wasp play, and it's very difficult to play into AA Wasps yourself if you don't have it. Like, you're just severely unfavored. And yeah, ground specialization is my last tech. I used to run elite, but I think that the only way that you're going to win the games where your opponent goes for something tanky or gets, like, you know, a fortress drop is by having that massive boost of damage available whenever you want it, regardless of whether you have levels or not. And yeah, keep in mind, high explosive actually helps a lot in the mirror as well. So even though you don't have that elite marksman tech available, you're still in a pretty good spot. And I typically just try to play for the fact that it's unlikely my opponent will go for improved Wasp as well. Not many people play this comp or are willing to, you know, run this tech bar and then give up things like shield or even jump drive. So yeah, that's kind of where you catch people off guard. And you can see it's a very, very powerful comp when your opponent kind of disrespects it or doesn't go for the right moves. Now, what should he have done? He probably should have gone for Fortress AA very early on. The Mustang commit was correct, I think. He maybe didn't, like, buy enough of them early, but he did manage to get double tech quite quickly. But the steel balls were going to be annoying regardless. Like, even if you go Fortress here, it's not going to be easy to get through these high-level steel balls. So yeah, pretty nasty game. If I had another round, I would just buy even more worms and then probably go Subterranean Blitz with the defense enhancements, because his chaff clear is basically only Mustang at this point. I mean, I guess he has some arc lights, but they're going to struggle immensely dealing with Subterranean Blitz on top of those defense enhancements. It just, like, becomes a nightmare for the opponent to get through. And then in the meantime, you've got these, I mean, Giga Wasps just killing everything, right? Whether it's chaff or single target DPS that you need, like, they will have it. Anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of Worm Wasp. Have you tried it before? Is this the first time that you've seen it? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with the latest content, please consider subscribing. If you want to see me play live, especially on that new patch, go check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.